everyone, and welcome to the Native American Actors Panel presented by Cherokee Nation Film Office for the Sundance Film Festival satellite screen. We are coming together for this panel from all over the country due to the global pandemic. And as Sundance has, for the first time ever, partnered with independent cinemas across the country, including the Circle Cinema in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am your moderator today. My name is Angelique Midthunder. I'm a casting director specializing in Native American and Indigenous casting. I would like to go ahead and let's go around the Zoom room and have each panelist introduce themselves and tell us maybe what you may best be known for or what you're particularly proud of. Let's start. We'll go in alphabetical order by first name. So Jenna, do you want to start?
Yep. Hi, my name is Jenna Claus. I'm 21 years old and I'm a Cayuga Nation Wolf Clan member of the Haudenosaunee people from Six Nations, Ontario. And you may know me best as Martha Blackburn in Amazon Prime's The Wilds.
Great. Kimberly?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimberly Guerrero. I'm an enrolled member of the Colville tribe, but I was born and raised in Oklahoma. For the old schoolers, I'm most known as Winona from Seinfeld, where I played Jerry's Native American girlfriend. The newer generation, I played Jenna's mom, and I'm about guys' husband in Rutherford. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about.
So exciting. Michael, I think the last time I saw you, we were in Tulsa. Do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yes, welcome. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Michael Greyeyes. I'm from Treaty 6 territory in Saskatchewan, Canada. My dad is from Muskeg Lake, Cree Nation, and my mom is from Sweetgrass First Nation. I'm excited to join you all. I have a film at Sundance called Wild Indian that I hope you'll get a chance to watch.
All right, Morningstar.
Hello, my name is Morningstar Angeline. I am Blackfoot, Navajo, and Chippewa Cree and Shoshone and Latinx. I'm an actor and filmmaker. As an actress, I went through the Sundance Film Festival with Drumtown's Finest. I think that was in 2014, quite some time ago. Most recently, I was cast in Amazon's Outer Range. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, last but not least, Zahn McClarnon.
Hi guys, my name is Zahn McClarnon. I'm a Honkapapa Lakota, Standing Rock Sioux, and I'm known for a couple TV shows I did, Fargo, Westworld, and a few other ones. I'm glad to be here today, and it's great to see everybody.
All right, well, we'll just go ahead and hop into the questions. Michael, you mentioned Wild Indian. It's one of the films chosen to premiere at Sundance this year. So we want to congratulate you on that. And we want to ask, what does it mean to you as a Native actor to be seen on screen at this level?
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the platform. I'm grateful that Sundance supported our filmmaker, Lyle Mitchell Corbin Jr., Anishinaabe man from Minnesota, and they supported his idea, his writing, went through the Sundance Lab. So there's a lot of support from this organization that makes his voice, amplifies his work. So I'm delighted that a renowned festival like Sundance is behind his work. It's in competition, and yeah, I think it's essential that organizations like this not only support diversity through programming, but actually through development.
And that goes hand in hand with kind of some of the more mainstream stuff we've been seeing a lot of you guys. And Kimberly, you mentioned working with Michael on Rutherford Falls. Jenna, I know you are working with Kimberly on The Wild. Zahn, you're all over the television. Can any of you talk to what it means to you as a Native actor to be working in mainstream production?
It's good to be
Anyone?
working. It's good to be working. I mean, that's what we are, is obviously actors that happen to be Native American. And, you know, I moved out here 25 years ago to Los Angeles to work as an actor and pursue my craft, my art. And I'm very grateful for that. And it's my whole life.
Anyone else? Michael, you or Kimberly want to talk about Rutherford at all?
Oh, Michael, come on.
Come on, Michael.
Well, yes.
I will say this. I was so excited because comedy is my jam. I love doing comedy. And the fact that I was so thrilled when I found out that Michael was doing this, because now the whole world can know how funny he is in our community. So with that, the star of Rutherford Falls.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Pardon me. Yeah, I think it's, again, Rutherford Falls is, I think, a landmark show. Our showrunner is Navajo, and I think this is one of the first network shows that's being led by an Indigenous creator. Sierra's a genius. I think she's amazing, and the quality of the work, the quality of the writing, I think it's extraordinary to allow the world to see our communities in ways that we have control over those narratives and casting choices. You know, Kimberly and Kimberly plays my wife in the project, and what was amazing about the process is when we, you know, when it was time to, you know, do the read through together and you know, audition and stuff, we knew each other for a long time. And Sierra and the other producers were like, it's like you guys have known each other forever. And I was like, well, we have known each other forever. So I think it's essential that work, high level work, high budget work like this can showcase the kind of talent that we've seen in all our communities. So I think it's essential, and it's long overdue.
Here. Zahn, last time I saw you, we were in a room with Taika Waititi and Sterling Harjo casting for a show that shot in Tulsa. Can you talk about that at all, or no?
You should have brought Sterling on here. I think Sterling and Taika are obviously amazing talents, and I was happy to be a part of Res Dogs, and I was supposed to actually do something different on the show, and kind of got called in at the last minute to do something else. And I jumped at the opportunity, obviously, to work with Sterling again and to work with Taika. I think it's also like Rutherford Falls. It's a very groundbreaking show with, you know, Native comedy and showing what it's kind of like growing up on the res and being a young person. I think those things are important to explore. I think you know, we've seen through television that, you know, there's been different cultures that have been explored, and we're kind of like the last culture to be explored through that through this medium, and I think it's extremely important. I'm very grateful that there's a lot of work to go around for everybody, and you know, we're having more and more writers come in and directors come into the business that are Native, that are getting the opportunities to show their work, and I'm just really glad I'm a Native actor at this period of time, and there's a lot of things going on. So yeah, it's great. It's exciting. It's very exciting.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys, I think this is an important question. From your perspective, why is it important for Natives or Indigenous people to play Native roles instead of someone who is not Native but may look the part?
I personally think that somebody who grew up in their culture is going to bring something a little bit more to that role, other than somebody who doesn't know anything about the culture, or it's such a difficult thing to navigate through with being an actor. And I just don't want the Latino community to come and say, Zahn, you're not Latino, but you know what I mean? You can't play that part. So it's really difficult to navigate through this stuff. But I do believe that somebody who grew up in their culture brings something a little bit more to that part than somebody who didn't.
Yeah, I think also if that is letting someone else define what Native looks like as well. And I would say that that's most likely giving the nod to the stereotypical Native American looking person, male, female, whichever. And the fact of the matter is, we all look different. I think a lot of us here look different, and I think that speaks to it, as well as growing up that way. And, growing up a young girl, watching people, I think you can feel it too, because there's a little bit of passion there. They feel an obligation to portray the person, hopefully with humanity at most.
Yeah,
and I'm not Native American, but I do agree with you, and I think that people like a Native American playing a Native American in any situation is going to have like you have a dog in the fight. You want to bring integrity, you want to bring authenticity. That's why I got into the casting. I'm not Native myself, but my family is. I have a child that is growing up Native, and it means so much to her and to me and to her cousins and our nieces and nephews, that they see themselves accurately portrayed on television and in movies. I feel like, you go home to the res and you've got all these young kids, and it's like, if they're seeing people who aren't Native American representing them, do they feel invisible? Do they feel lesser than? Do they feel that they're not capable? So I think it's really important that somebody that has a responsibility to the community and can portray a role accurately. I know I'm the moderator. I'm answering the question, but that's my perspective as a casting director and somebody that has an investment in the community. Kimberly, I feel like I remember you on Longmire confronting a non-Native playing a Native in a very like kind, bless your heart sort of way. Do you have anything you want to add?
Wait, tell me what happened. I have the worst.
Yeah, we'll talk. I'll remind you later.
I think it's again, from my perspective, and Zahn, I know everyone in this room can feel this. There's the part of us that are actors, and as actors, we want to be able to play anything, everything. That's our job. I will play that rock like no rock has ever been played before. And so there's that, and then there's the reality that we have been starved of story for so long. And story is we subsisted on story. And so to be robbed of it, from these screens that we all grew up with, it means something. One of my favorite Bob Marley songs is "Who knows it feels it." I mean, who feels it knows it. And so it's just like, to feel that generational trauma, to feel the love of our community and the knowledge of that, and to bring that to a character, you can't act that. And so there's that, and then there's always that understanding that someone is on the other side of that camera. Somebody's on the other side of that glass, you know, that screen that's going to see you. There's going to be a young person that's watching that it just is enthralled with Native American culture. And if you show them something that's not true because you don't know it, they're going to believe that is true. We're living the consequences of story right now. Story has power. Story is medicine. It can be good medicine or it can be bad medicine. And it can heal or it can harm. And we're going through the consequences of what people believe right now. So the onus is, you know, on us as actors to be the best, you know, medicine keepers of that as we can. If you don't have a connection with that culture, that story, how are you even going to know, you know, maybe what's stereotypical or how to ask a question, you know, of someone to be able to accurately portray that, because it means something. It means something to everybody who's watching, and it means something to our people, you know. It means something to who we are and how we understand ourselves in this world.
Yeah, I agree. And it's 2021. You know, if you ask, you know, just audiences around the world, you know, would you accept a non-Asian person playing an Asian person? Would you, you know, take a Black person, a non-Black person casting a Black person's role, and, you know, you try to put that over on us? No one's buying it. No one's buying it. So why would they buy us being replaced? You know, so I think we have to look at audiences and how audiences are pretty nuanced and savvy. I think they understand the authenticity and the connectivity that we bring to our work. And also, you know, as Native writers and Native creators take more and more control of our image, the writing becomes more and more specific. And it really becomes beyond the ability of somebody who doesn't understand this stuff to be able to play it legitimately. So audiences don't accept it for other cultures, and I don't see why they, you know, we should change that rule for us.
I absolutely agree. I have to say one of the problems coming from the other side, from a casting director's perspective, is misrepresentation from the acting community. That's something that, I mean, it keeps me employed, but it's something that a lot of casting directors struggle with is, you know, they don't know how to suss out those situations sometimes. So it's a shame. Okay, and on the flip side of that question, what are y'all's thoughts about Native actors always just playing Native roles, but not roles for ordinary modern people? Is that something that you see changing? Michael, you're banging your head.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope so. Like the talent around these Zoom windows is extraordinary. You know, I don't think there's a limit to what we can do as a community in terms of our understanding of craft. You know, all of us are standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, people who came before us and you know, broke down doors. So, you know, I look at our ability, you know, the ability to play anything. And, you know, Kimberly spoke to it earlier. They would like to limit us, you know, in terms of how culture sees us, whether it's period films or other things. And that's why shows like, you know, Res Dogs, Rutherford Falls, you know, Wild Indian, other films, you know, numerous other films that are being made by Native creators are asking audiences to see us as we are, you know, as we live. And that includes playing outside of society's expectations of us. I think we can play anything. I think there's that kind of talent in the community.
Absolutely. Jenna, we haven't heard from you. Do you have anything you want to add?
I was just gonna say, for one, I am very appreciative for, you know, the push for diversity and accepting that the ordinary modern person can be a person of color. You know, it's so generalized to see just plain white people in these kinds of stories that are so important to tell. And I think it's just a matter of time before they come to accept, like, there's more than one color in this earth, and talent is within all of those skin colors. And I think it's really important for people to recognize that, considering we are so talented and there is so much potential in our Native community that can be overlooked all the time.
Absolutely. And I do love, I do feel like, you know, on the casting side, I am seeing it more and more that filmmakers are being open to, like you said, Jenna, casting people of color in roles that are not designated for certain specific ethnicities. It's really refreshing. And look, I live in Santa Fe, but I went to the doctor recently and the doctor was Navajo. And I was like, yes, I wish it was a movie. It was a young female Navajo, not at IHS. This is a regular hospital. I was like, yes. Okay, let's stick to the script, Angelique. Guys, do you think it's important for Natives to be involved in the rest of the film and TV making process? Can anyone provide insight into why that is important? And can you give an example of an experience that you've had on a project that illustrates why that's important? I think we kind of touched on that already a little bit with Rutherford and Res Dogs, but Morningstar, you're banging your head now. So
like,
after that,
can we put up a bullet point list of the times where you're just like, I wish someone was here to back me up in the room, or, you know, one thing, because we were talking about Sterling, when we were working on Scalp, the TV pilot, which you were casting on too, right, Angelique? There were many times where I was very grateful for that experience because I felt like they did listen to us and they did hear us. And luckily Sterling and me oftentimes were on the same page about which battles to choose. But, you know, I just came off of a feature that I felt they were taking the care too long after the fact, and asking the questions much too late and demanding too much of people who oftentimes, like, I work as a director's assistant or a producer's assistant when I'm not directing or producing myself. And I find that oftentimes they come to us in those positions just wanting us to speak for everyone and wanting us to fulfill that consultation of everything. And you know, when I'm talent, I'm like, I wish there was someone here to back me up about my concern, and then vice versa when I'm on the other side. So I think that also speaks to your last question about why we need, you know, those people in those representational spaces. So when they are crossing those lines, you can be the one to sit there and say, no, this isn't good. This isn't, whether it's cultural or whatever, that you can ping that and not depend on someone else to do that work.
I feel like I hear that from actors all the time, that when there's not a cultural advisor on set, they kind of just assume you are the one by default, you know, whether or not it's even, you know, you're just portraying somebody from this tribe doesn't mean that you are the expert on that if it's not the tribe that you belong to. So I think that's, you know, something that hopefully directors and producers are taking into consideration more and more.
Because the movie will do better, right? Won't Native audiences watch it and be like, wow, this is authentic, it's real? And so, and that's where I'm like, it's in the best interest of your movie or your TV show to put in that extra work. And I think at the end of the day, it's a creative process too, and it'll make it more funny, it'll make it more real. That's what I've found. So I think it is changing, but there is still those situations where, like Michael said, it's like, it's 2021, like what, you know, but it's still happening.
And those kinds of things can go as little as like art department mistakes. Like, I've been in certain scenes where I'm supposed to be in my home, you know, playing an Ojibwe, and I found, you know, crosses and Christian quotes, and you know, I had a word with like the art department saying like, you know, this doesn't really fit. I don't know if you're confusing me with another girl's backstory, but like, it's honestly, it would be more refreshing to have like that spiritual kind of connection, like just pointing, like knowing like something's wrong in this kind of scenario, or like something that can be like pointed out, like that's weird to have, like, you know what I mean? It's like just those little things, even like all the way down to like little like symbols like in the back, like the background of a scene. Yeah,
I think it's changing.
Yeah, every tribe's different. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, I think it's changing quite a bit, Angelique. I mean, just look at the fact, you know, what networks are doing right now with these productions. Are putting us on television as leads in the productions, as the storytellers, as the writers, the producers, the directors. So it's a heck of a lot better than it was 10 or 20 years ago, you know. Sure, Michael remembers us doing Crazy Horse. There was quite a bit of stuff that that, you know, was overlooked to regards to culture and language, and it's gotten a lot better. So I think it's just going to keep getting better as well with all these productions going on. More the merrier. It's like a big car that we all can jump in and travel, you know, everybody, including background people, including, you know, light riggers and DPs and more the merrier. We can all get in this vehicle and be together and drive that car.
Yeah, we'll drive further too, because you know, when often I find I'm like the only Indigenous person on a set, you know, like in a lot of the projects. And so without that kind of support that everyone's been talking about, it lands on that lone person, that lone representative of the community to, you know, talk about the writing, to fix this, fix that. So all of a sudden we're doing lots of other jobs, whereas often we're just hired to be the actor. And so we're being burdened by a kind of like an educator's role. And when we have support around us, it allows us to then just turn to the work that we've been hired for, which is, you know, to perform, to elevate the craft, elevate, you know, the art of performance. And when that happens, you know, when we find that support around us, like we have to do, you know, less sort of recuperative work, and we can actually just push the boundaries of our performance, which is why we're there in the first place. And we'll shine. And I think that's what everybody wants.
You know, I think a key word, and it is for us all the way down the line, is sovereignty. Sovereignty. We need sovereignty over our own governmental structures. We need sovereignty over our own story, because, you know, I'm paraphrasing Wilma Mankiller here, who I had the great honor of playing twice in feature films. But she understood that story influenced perception, and perception then changes policy. And then we're all living within, you know, their debate. I can hear my husband listening to it downstairs. They're debating the policy that's going on that shapes our entire lives. So to have that sovereignty, and Zahn, you're so right about, like, it's a big, I mean, anybody who's out there that's listening, that you want to be a part of this storytelling tribe, there's so many positions available, and you don't have to just do one. I mean, look at Morningstar. You know, just, there's so many different ways that you can be a part of this storytelling tribe. So jump in, learn your craft. You know, Zahn, you and I were doing something about 20 years ago, and they were asking us, you know, what would you tell a young actor? And Zahn, I think you said something like, get your ass in class, you know, there, right? So there's all this is a wonderful, on top of it being a lot of fun and us being naturally great storytellers in general as Indigenous peoples. It's a really wonderful craft to learn in different areas of it. And the more excellent that we are at doing what it is that we do, then there's not going to be a question of whether they hire us or not. You know, if because we're going to be great at what we do, and we're going to bring that something else to the project that only we can bring. So yeah, I think sovereignty is just, again, another key word for us within this industry as much as it is within, you know, our governmental structures.
Kimberly, that was beautifully said. I love that. And I do feel like there is room at the table for everyone who's talented, and we all have the capability to, you know, to just work on ourselves and work on our craft and our talents. And yeah, like you said, just enrich projects by bringing, you know, something else to it. I love that. What kind of opportunities do you feel like, for any of you, are out there for someone who has little or no experience in the industry but wants to break in? Jenna, I know that you're like the youngest one here. Maybe do you want to talk about your experience like breaking in, and what advice you would give to a young person besides get your ass in class?
I mean, honestly, I almost feel like I kind of am that example. I have little to no experience in this film industry. I came in here as extra roles, background roles, one-liners, and that was it. And for me to get this role, it was a huge monumental step that I had no way or in any shape or form to prepare for or compare it to. Like, the difference was just immaculate of like where I went to. And for me to go through that, it really does show me like little to no experience can get you places. Like, I feel like when I finally met my writer, she said she saw something in me, and I really feel like I started like trusting more of like the writers, of like the casting directors that can actually see that there is talent in Native Americans. But my advice would literally be, you know, because us being authentic Native Americans, achieving these huge things, I think we are examples to our community that things can happen, and there's, you know, there's more to life than how people think we stereotypically live.
Yeah.
Show up.
On time, not
Just
on
show
Indian
up.
time.
Show up to everything. You know what I mean? Just show up. You know, show up to class. Show up to auditions. Show up to being on the set. Show up to one-liners. Show up to being an extra.
Yeah.
Show up. You know? And keep. If this is what you want to do, just keep going.
Yeah.
That's great advice, Zahn. That's really great advice. That's the hardest part, I think, for some people starting out, is just going for it and showing up. And Morningstar, like you said, on time, not Indian time. My husband and I tried to start we tried to start a campaign like, let's make Indian time be early, and like no one would get on board with that. Anyone else?
I think it's really an exciting time. It's been an exciting time since the digital revolution. I remember that I had been teaching acting out on reservations around the country since the early 90s. And the first time I could afford to buy a camcorder, like a good camcorder, not the big ones, like handheld ones. And I'm like, oh, let's shoot the things that we're doing out on the reservation. And then my very first little short film I worked with students on, I hand edited it on a VCR. And then we brought everybody into the gym, and the whole like reservation was there in the basketball gym, and we pushed play, and it was just like, you know, such janky cuts and everything like that. But it had the same kind of impact as if it would have been a big Hollywood feature film. And it was their kids. They had written it. They had gotten the locations. I was just shooting and like trying to, you know, figure out how to edit it and all this kind of stuff. And then not too long after that, Angelique helped me cast my first short film, Standing Cloud. And that was a miraculous, wonderful experience. And so a lot of this is just about making your own content. And if you're not a writer, I guarantee you know someone who is. just who's the funniest person in your community or the smartest person in your community. They have stories, like they have that gift. And then we were talking earlier, Lauren Waters is helping put this together for Cherokee Nation for Sundance. And, you know, she naturally's like, YouTube's my best friend. There's somebody within your circle that YouTube and TikTok are their best friends. They around some TikTok. And so you're just like, okay, they know, you know, and so you start building this team, you start building this, your own small storytelling tribe, and then start making content and putting it out, because then you don't have to wait for the phone call. You know, you can say, show up to all the things that are kind of industry related that may be happening within your community, but you can also be creating things as you go, because this is really something, huh, Jenna, like, you know, like you've still done those one-liners and that extra,
Yeah.
saw the way that the process worked.
Yeah.
You know? It's not rocket science, but, you know, but if you do it, there's nothing to it but to do it. Just jump in and you will learn as you go.
Yeah, definitely. Be curious about the world around you. Like our stories, like learn your stories. You know, talk to your elders, talk to uncles, talk to aunties. Know where you're coming from. Be curious about everything. Like, you know, if you're a gamer, you know, game hard, you know, and like learn about, you know, watch TV, watch, you know, action films, watch comedies, like read everything, you know, be curious. You know, I've traveled around Indian country, and I swear I've never met a Native person that wasn't like incredibly intelligent. Like we all have different kinds of education, but we're smart. Be curious. You use that intelligence. Our stories will change the world. So be curious about that.
And I have to say, I love that. It's so true. I think that, you know, our elders are a wealth of information, and the stories, if they're not told, are going to disappear. That's so great. And Kimberly, to what you said about, you know, YouTube, and, you know, somebody who's a writer if you're not one, and, you know, just do it. Look at, you know, because we're in Tulsa, we're virtually in Tulsa, but because we're in Tulsa, it just makes me think again of Sterling and the 1491ers, and like what a success story those guys are. I mean, you know, I first saw them on YouTube, and now they're in the writers' rooms on Res Dogs, Rutherford, Barkskins. I mean, I feel like every show I worked on yesterday, there was a 1491 in the writers' room, at least one, if not all of them. And in front of the camera too. Half the time they're sneaking onto the cast list. I was like, this is awesome, you know? I mean, we started watching that stuff on YouTube. Who saw that coming, you know? So that's great. Okay, moving on. Back to the script, Angelique. Okay, so last year, the Academy Awards set new inclusion standards for the Best Picture category, meaning, for example, a film must have either 2 leadership positions or 6 crew from an underrepresented group like Native Americans. What are your thoughts on this initiative? Will it help, and should it be expanded?
I think all institutions should always shake up their status quo. You know, there's a great saying: if there's a woman on the board of directors somewhere, very soon there'll be 2 women, right? I think all organizations benefit from rethinking how they do their business. You know, that's where innovation comes from, and innovation leads to new discoveries and change. When we include other voices in the room, it expands everybody. It expands everybody. So when I look at, you know, when I look at the crew, when I look at people behind the scenes, people in writers' rooms, and we expand our presence, things only ever get better. We only enliven and enrich. So this is like, it's the opposite of affirmative action to me. What you're doing is enriching your the creative matrix that you guys are working from, bringing new voices, new stories. So I applaud that decision. I think it can only expand. You know, like lots of films that the Academy supports, you know, are forgotten. Like they don't get mentioned, you know. And I think when you have great films coming from communities that are underrepresented or not represented at all, I think it enriches the body of work that we're making. So yeah, I support that.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's also, like you said, just a step to me, because it shouldn't be because they have to fulfill a quota. It should be because we sincerely have amazing stories. And I think so that has to be a shift in perspective on Indigenous people and how universal our stories are, and how really that isn't as much of a hill or mountain that they thought they had to get up of. No one's going to watch a Native do normal things on TV or in movies, which is bizarre, completely bizarre. And so I think it's great. It's just not letting it stop there and not getting complacent and not just picking a favorite of that group of people and then just letting them. I think it's really saying like, okay, there's talent everywhere, not just in your few examples, and we're going to use them all the time. So I think it is that thing of, and every time I go somewhere, I try to reach a hand back and pull some other Native or Indigenous person on set with me in some level. And like, that's really what you have to do. You can't wait for someone to do that.
That's really nice, Morningstar. I love that. I think that's like so rewarding, right? Like that's where the reward comes in, when you get to a position where you can turn around and help the next one up. Okay, well, we are kind of getting towards wrapping it up here. One thing we did want to ask about is the pandemic. How has it affected your work? How are you adjusting? And what are you doing differently, or what have you been doing with your time this past 9 months? Let's everyone do this one.
I've been quite fortunate to continue to work. A lot of voiceover stuff, res dogs during the pandemic. You know, people are being safer, but there's also productions that have been put on hold that I'm involved with, and I just feel personally just very fortunate that I was able to continue to work, and I count my blessings every day for that. I mean, this country and the world is still going through some, you know, most difficult times that we've ever experienced, and I just feel really fortunate, you know, and I make sure when I wake up in the morning I remember that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a reflective time. For me, it was also, I've never auditioned for so many, I've never auditioned so much, and I've never auditioned for so many non-Native roles. So that was good. I just took that as a win, even if you're not getting the roles, the fact that you're being seen. And I think that was really nice, but also being able to take time and focus on the other aspects of film that I want to do. I did a feature writers lab. I'm in production for a short film that I co-wrote, co-directed. So I've had time to focus on that and to make space for the stories that live in my head so I can find talent. I just found a young child actor that I'm just like mind blown from, and she has just like breathed life into me, because she's just testament to how much talent is just waiting for us. And she's never been in a movie. I'm just like, it's just really amazing. And so I've been really grateful to be in New Mexico, to touch base and like really reconnect with why I love filmmaking from every aspect. And I don't think I can ever get bored, ever.
Yeah, the pandemic's been tough on our communities for sure. Like Zahn, I'm grateful that I was able to work. You know, I worked on Rutherford Falls for 4 months, and I'll never forget that, you know, I was able to work, do something I love, while so many families were hurting, and people lost their businesses, and there's lines of cars for people at the food banks. So I'm really cognizant of my privilege, you know, that I was privileged to work. But you know, there was a period where I was like, you know, six months at home, and that was beautiful because I travel a lot, and was able to be with my wife and my teenage daughters, and you know, we were staying safe and we had food. So yeah, it was you know, in a weird way, it was a time of a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking, and we're not done yet. So hang in, everybody, hang in there.
What's different? Definitely, my auditions have slowed down immensely. Honestly, I don't even remember the last time I got an audition. I feel like it's been so long, but at the same time, because I filmed an entire season last year for half a year, having this time off to decompress and spend more time with my family and learn what's really important. And to me, that was watching my family grow, because I remember when I was there, I left and my nephew, like, he was so young he couldn't walk. I come back and he's running. And you just miss so much of those moments that, you know, sometimes you can take for granted for us. So I think spending a lot of time with my family and realizing those moments and healing together from this pandemic and this sickness together, I think is a moment that I really needed.
Yeah, it is an extraordinary time. And I mean, to have the whole world, especially during that time when we were all locked down, to be still. And there's something, you know, there's just something so powerful about being still in one space, and it allowing the chatter in your head to die down a little bit, or to even grow aware of the chatter in your head. Going back to that concept of story, what stories are you telling yourself that maybe don't serve you anymore, that you can let go of? And what stories, you know, because Jenna, you're so right, Michael, Zahn, Morningstar, the you know, Angelique, we were all talking about relationships at the end of the day, you know. I mean, that's what's most important to us. So make sure that we're feeding that. And there's a lot of, you know, young actors and filmmakers and talent out there that, you know, it's very easy to get caught up in this business. But at the end of the day, if it's your day to make your journey, you're not going to be thinking, oh, I wish I would have, you know. You're going to be wanting to reach out to that person that you loved, or maybe ask forgiveness from somebody, or give forgiveness to somebody. So, you know, it gave me a time to really, and I am in midlife, so it was a really nice kind of sacred pause, to be able to kind of to take my breath, honor those that weren't able to breathe. And in the middle of that was the George Floyd crisis, and I can't breathe. And then how that connects with our community, because for so long we haven't been able to breathe. And so it's just, everything just kind of came together. So to be able to have that blessing, like Zahn was talking about, and Michael, and Jenna, and just to be able to go and work, was such a gift. Michael and I had a moment, and I had to keep it together. We had a moment on Rutherford Falls where we got to be a family. We were like in really cool clothes. And we have these really great kids that are like, you know, smart asses. And it's just, and we had this really nice car. We drove this really nice SUV, and we were being directed by a Native person, and the showrunner was Native, and just it was as Michael said, it was just such excellent work. It was at the highest caliber of work, and I just had to keep trying to keep it together, you know, not to have that moment of it, just so I could just focus on the performance, but also say how blessed we are to get to be here in the middle of the pandemic, telling this story where neither Michael nor I have to die. Now that's not funny, but it's funny because it's true. Because we've never gotten to do a show together where one of us didn't have to die. Usually it's me because I'm a woman. So, so, you know, it's just, there's a lot, you know, it's been an extraordinary time. And again, you know, we do want to say too, as your brothers and sisters, that we love you all, that you're in our prayers, that your community that's been hit so hard by this pandemic, they're in our prayers, and our elders, you know, that have succumbed to this. It's just, it's a very tender time. And it's a fiery time, but just, you know, it's testing us, and we'll come out stronger and purer, you know, if we hold on to each other and we move forward.
Kimberly, you always make me cry. Okay, let's, on that note, we'll just kind of wrap it up here. Our time is almost over. One last thing, I really want to make sure everybody gets to share if they have anything coming up that they're excited about, that they're working on currently, that they're developing, that we haven't gotten to talk about. Michael, we talked about Wild Indian and Rutherford Falls. I think those are big ones for you. Anything else?
No, I'm just really aching for the audiences to see that work. We put a huge amount of effort into it, and I'm excited to share that with everybody.
Zahn, what about you? I know you're always working. Anything you can share with us? Anything you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited about being a part of Res Dogs, very much. Also, I'm doing a Marvel series right now, which is a small part, but it's you guys are gonna love it because there's big surprise there, and I think Disney went all out and found somebody really remarkable to play this part. Not me. I'm talking about the I'm playing the father of. But yeah, I'm going to Spain for something. You know, as soon as COVID opens up, and I have a NDA kind of thing involved right now, Angelique. You know, can't
Always.
about that one, but I'm just freaking grateful to be working, and I'm so grateful that we're all getting to do something, you know, and we've got this huge vehicle, and I'm glad I'm part of the ride. So.
Morningstar, you mentioned Outer Range. That's in development or shooting right now, right? The Josh Brolin series, yeah?
Yeah, I believe, yep. I just got a role in that, and working on my short film Seeds, and we're going into production in February, possibly early March, and really just continuing to focus on rewriting the features I wrote during lockdown, and also working on expanding my single owned production company, and expanding that and joining forces with some other local filmmakers, and just really trying to invest in New Mexico and really establish my roots here and invest in film for not just myself, but really everyone. So I think that's what mostly 2021 will be.
Excellent. And Jenna, you mentioned you have a pickup for season 2?
Yes, so my show is on Amazon Prime and I got a renewal within like 8 days, I think, which is incredible. Like I'm still in shock about it, and that will probably take up another half a year. So that's the one thing I have lined up for me.
Awesome. And Kimberly, you're working on that show as well, yes?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's really the show about it's about the girls, and I play Jenna's character's mom, and so I don't know if that'll be a part, but it is so people
I
watch
hope so.
the whole, it's so good. It's just so well done, and to have Jenna right there with it, just knocking home runs
Thank you.
every episode. It's so exciting.
Is the first
So
season
incredible.
Full season.
Yeah, season 1's on Amazon.
Amazon? Cool.
It's
And I believe
It
that
feels
show
so
had
weird to say.
and that show had a Native American director for some of the episodes, yes?
Yes, her name is
Sydney Freeland, right?
She's
Yeah.
incredible. I love her.
Sydney Freeland. Oh, I mean, just going back to just a quick aside, just about the power, about the power of people being above the line, Native people being above the line. Directing our episode. I won't spoil anything for anybody that hasn't watched it yet, but it touches on something that's very close to a deep wound that's very close to if you're an Indigenous person, you're going to know what we're talking about when we get there. But I had a moment it was very triggering for me personally, and to have Sydney on the other side of that camera allowed me to go to a place where I almost had a psychological breakdown. But the fact that the part of me that was holding on knew that Sydney was back there, I allowed myself to go to that place and have a complete breakdown on camera. They almost yelled cut. And I looked at Sydney, I go, no, let's keep going. Let's press through that, because that was part of it. I could put my pain into that. And those people on the other side of the screen that have gone through that, and you do not have to be Native to have gone through that, but they're going to know, that this was an intersection of a human being, giving a performance that had been through that themselves, and that pain was real. So, again, having that Native person on the other side of that camera, that made the difference for me. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about a film called Catch the Fair One, that we're tackling missing and murdered Indigenous women, with Kaylee Reese, the boxer, starring in that film. That's her first film. So again, you don't have to, you are the experience, right? You embody the experience, embody the knowledge. So as Zahn said, show up for that. I'm going to Spain too, Zahn. Let's talk about afterward. I'm like, ooh.
If COVID doesn't ruin it,
Exactly, COVID could ruin it. So that's very exciting. And it's just been it's been a very busy year. And also for me as a screenwriter, so I have a show that was picked up by a streaming platform. I'm working on another show. Zahn, you said, I ask all my friends, Morningstar, I got to find out from you what you want to play too. I always ask my friends, what do you want to play? And I'll write it for you. Zahn, back in the day, was telling me he wants to do a romantic comedy, which I think he'd be fantastic on. So
I said that.
Yes. So I have a lead role.
I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave those parts to Michael. Michael.
No, John, you need it. You got that hot uncle vibe that we need.
Give the people what they want, Zahn.
Right. Give us
So I'm working on that too, and just expanding more opportunity. It's this industry. It's like playing the lottery. I don't know if any of these scripts are going to get greenlit, but if they do, woohoo! Lots of work for everybody.
That's awesome. Well, I guess on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys. This has been a wonderful panel. I feel like it's been really educational for everybody watching, and I feel like it's been inspirational for the young actors and aspiring actors, or maybe just those Native American, Indigenous, or any underrepresented kids that that are out there that are watching that are seeing you guys on movies and television. And I feel like this is just the kind of thing that lets them know that they can do it too, you know. Like Jenna said, the extra roles, the one-liners, and like Zahn said, get your ass in class and just show up, you know. I think you guys are all a huge inspiration. So thank you all so much.
So are you, Angelique.
Yes, Angelique, we love you.
I'm gonna cast you a hot co-stars on for your romantic comedy.
All right.